Like a Pidgey in the Museum District, Pokemon Go users are popping up all over Richmond.
Did you see anything interesting?
You can spot the gamers all over Monroe Park, a telltale sign of a player head buried in a smartphone, flicking away at the screen.
It was like a little Pokemon Go party.
The game uses a Google Maps-like interface. Users track the Pokemon monsters around the actual world on a virtual scale, capturing them with a tossed Pokeball. Max and Howard say they've walked more than 18 miles in 3 days tracking Pokemon.
I used to be a cross-country runner, and that would be what I would make in 3 days.
And I was able to explore a lot more of Richmond.
But like any app that explodes on the scene, the downsides become apparent quickly. The Goochland Sheriff's Office blames the app for a spike in trespassing calls, and the Richmond Ambulance Authority sent out this meme, reminding users to remain aware of their surroundings because a buried head can't spot a speeding car.
I'm probably gonna die on this.
Michael Johnson is losing a Poke battle in the shadow of the Stonewall Jackson Monument.
We were over at the art museum and I was like, I'm gonna get him.
He's enjoying exploring Richmond, expanding his Pokédex, but hopes his fellow users stay safe because the virtual game is being played in a very real world.
It's common sense stuff, but not, as you know, it's not exactly that common.
In Richmond, Jake Burns, CBS 6 News. Everyone needs practice. When your worst case scenario involves firefights
3, 8, 2, 5.
Right. Take his weapon.
And potential IED explosions,
Medevac complete.
vigilance and sharpness are musts.
Basically, that skill level 1 is to be able to shoot, move, and communicate. And that's what we're doing today.
You're along for a training mission with the Virginia National Guard's 116th Military Engagement Team. These 26 veteran soldiers, many from the Richmond area, will soon deploy to the Arabian Peninsula in Central Asia.
There's some trepidation, excitement.
But this unit isn't in the business of kicking in doors or fighting terrorists. Their mission is less about combat and all about collaboration.
Yeah, we're a military engagement team, so that means we'll be working with the different countries, training them on different techniques and tactics that we do, and then talking with them about how do they do things. So we're exchanging information.
Relationships are the #1 priority for us because when you do an engagement, you cannot exchange information and get people to understand or believe what you're saying if you don't have that trust. You have to first build that trust.
I love Richmond, I love being at home, but this chance to travel, to see how other countries operate, how different cultures function, I think it's a great mission.
The team has been through language and cultural training too. Their members will work in 17 different Arab and Asian nations.
So it's a very, very diverse culture set, a lot of history, a lot of heritage, good experience for everyone.
The region the 116th is working in isn't known for its stability, so the dangers they're training for here are real.
You'll definitely be paying more attention to your environment and what's around you. In our situation, it's going to keep us alive if we do that or help keep us alive.
9 months of vigilance and relationship building, that's what lies ahead for these soldiers, each one hoping their return home to Virginia comes with lessons learned.
Having that experience is just going to make me more able to come back and effectively lead soldiers when I get home.
The unit begins active duty on March 10th, and they'll finish their training in Texas. Then, 30 to 45 days later, the 116th heads to Kuwait. In the newsroom, Jake Burns, CBS 6 News.
Do you know what Subway Surfers is?
The 7-year-old and the med student are unlikely Valentines.
Are you practicing until you can beat me?
Matul Shah and Katie Watley met 8 days ago. Matul was on a rotation at the Children's Hospital of Richmond at VCU and found out that Katie didn't have a Valentine.
And it's just unfair because none of her classmates, none of her friends have to do that. They're not in the same situation.
13 months ago, Katie was diagnosed with leukemia. She went into remission, but then came December.
Unfortunately, 11 months in, relapsed with leukemic tumors on both of her optic nerves. She had a bone marrow transplant February 3rd from bone marrow harvested from her baby sister the day before.
We got two.
That's the backdrop that the med student met the 7-year-old.
Like the 4th of July.
Monday, Matul and his friends from the Delta Chi chapter at VCU had a surprise. Katie got her Valentine's Day in the form of 20 grown men.
The Beanie Boos that she liked, bring her some Hello Kitty stuff, but we did our best Katy Perry rendition. Not that great.
It was so wonderful just to hear her be happy. and sort of carefree as you can be with an IV pole that has 8 or 9, tubes coming down.
Katie's father is an active duty Marine living in Norfolk and taking care of her 3 siblings. While her white blood cell count is improving following the transfusion, there were no adult matches for Katie on the bone marrow registry. Fortunately, her baby sister was.
Families we know are still searching for their match, and they just have to wait and get sicker.
You don't want to play multiplayer?
Katie's new Valentine says getting on the bone marrow registry is as easy as getting your cheek swabbed, and it can save lives.
It's really hard to get a match, so the more people that are in it, obviously the more chance of success you'll have.
Bill, from our vantage point here on the National Mall, we really didn't see any of those clashes between protesters and police. Things are mostly calm. We did meet a lot of people who were excited that Donald Trump is now the 45th president of the United States. And those Richmonders we spoke with said, coming up 95, it was a trip that was worth the trek.
Go Trump!
A changing of the guard in the highest office of the land, witnessed by thousands in the shadow of the Capitol building.
I'm excited. I'm ready for Trump's America.
John McCulick from Glen Allen was in the crowd. He says because of his birthday, this was the first presidential election he was able to vote in.
Once I voted for him, I was like, okay, I think I want to go to the inauguration. I'm like, it's one of those once-in-a-lifetime things.
Political experts say the Trump candidacy was a once-in-a-generation campaign. Now President Trump's focus must turn to governing a politically fractured country, something peaceful protesters on the National Mall argue the 45th president has only made worse so far.
There have been people here from Nepal and Peru and France.
We've met great people.
We've met great people. They're here to see him as a president.
The Whalen family from Powhatan doesn't see it that way. They traveled to D.C. to celebrate and soak in American history.
And I wanted my kids to experience it.
The Whalens believe President Trump's call for unity is sincere.
We gave Obama a chance in 2008. It's time to give this guy a chance. Maybe he's the guy, maybe he's not the guy. But we won't know unless he does it. 2 Richmonders were within feet of President Trump as he was sworn in earlier today. Senator Tim Kaine was on the steps of the U.S. Capitol, as was Steve Bannon, Trump's senior advisor. Analysts have said that some of the most fiery moments of Trump's inaugural address were likely influenced by Bannon, who was born and raised in the north side of Richmond. Working for you at the Capitol, Jake Burns, CBS 6 News. On a weekend of patriotism.
Call your congressperson, call your senator.
One of the largest demonstrations in D.C. in years. A peaceful resistance against the new president.
That's right, female power, to show our solidarity, to let Trump know that he's not going to push us around.
It was estimated that 200,000 people plus would come to the Women's March on Washington. We're here at the intersection of Pennsylvania and 7th. You can see it's right by a metro stop, and throngs of people are coming and filing into the National Mall. The crowd grew so large that by early afternoon, organizers decided to cancel the formal march to the White House.
It's very energizing to be around so many people who are standing up to say this isn't right.
Richmond mother Holly Brown and teacher Tara Harris say they're worried what the next generation of Americans will think of a Trump presidency.
I've got 2 sons, and I don't want any of this administration's policies or Trump's statements to become normalized.
I think we're going to be raising our voices an awful lot.
David and Angela Kappas are from RVA2. They hope the political energy they feel here is brought back home.
We can't just stand here and yell at Donald Trump. We need to go home and make sure that we are creating the change that we want to see in our own community.
The fact of the matter is Donald Trump got 1.7 million votes in Virginia. Richmonders we spoke with today say while they might not be able to support President Trump, they're trying to find a way to have a conversation with their neighbors who did. Working for you at the Women's March on Washington, Jake Burns, CBS 6 News.
He was saying, and I'm prettier than you, Doug. And I said, we're going to debate that.
Doug Wilder had no idea Muhammad Ali was attending his 1989 inauguration as the first elected African-American governor in U.S. history.
And when he did show up, people were just agog.
Wilder and Ali developed a close friendship after that. The governor shows us this championship ring the greatest gave him. The inscription, all the more special since Ali's passing.
To Doug Wilder, with respect, Muhammad Ali.
Wilder says his own admiration for the champ has little to do with boxing. Few athletes in history have had the social and political impact of Ali. Wilder says he was not afraid to say the unpopular thing if he believed it was right.
He was so far ahead of most people relative to the Vietnam War. He was way ahead, miles and miles ahead. His principal convictions did more for this country than most ambassadors of the nation in total.
Near the end of his life, the once artfully graceful boxer battled debilitating Parkinson's disease. Wilder and Ali grew close after the champ's diagnosis.
I got mad. I wish that someone had said, don't take this kind of punishment.
But while Ali's physicality changed, his spirit never did. Wilder compares Ali to visionaries like Nelson Mandela, men who saw problems in the way the world worked and fought to change it in their own way.
He was one of the purest individuals that I've ever known, and I will miss his spirit greatly. But I know that in some regards, it will be with us.
For 6 weeks in September 2014, people working near the federal court building in Richmond stayed to one side of the street. The drama playing out across it, former Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell and his wife Maureen on trial, details of their fractured relationship and financial struggles on center stage.
The Supreme Court is going to be looking at those things.
Legal analyst Todd Stone says the personal nature of the case is critically important as it heads to the U.S. Supreme Court. McDonnell's team says his relationship with vitamin salesman Johnny Williams was normal government business, that sending emails and setting up meetings does not equal corruption. But prosecutors say the McDonald's sold their power to help Williams and that the governor used his power as the highest official in Virginia to influence other people.
That's really the crux of this because every conviction depends on the definition of official acts.
McDonnell remains free despite being convicted on 11 federal charges, but could go to prison depending on how the Supreme Court rules. State Senator and close friend Tommy Norman.
But I'd say he's upbeat, he's positive, he's grounded, he's very comfortable with himself.
You know, I've got the most amazing friends in the world.
In what may be the last time he walks out of a courtroom, former Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell reflects on the 39 months that have passed since he was convicted of public corruption.
You know, I've given my life to public service in 38 years and have loved every minute of it. And this has obviously been a personal challenge, but I know the justice system will get this right.
McDonnell has the greatest personal stake in the case, his freedom. The men and women of the U.S. Supreme Court will decide whether he serves a 2-year prison sentence. Businessman Johnny Williams showered the McDonald's in $175,000 in luxury gifts and loans, but never got the state-sponsored studies he was seeking for a dietary supplement produced by his company. Prosecutors say that doesn't matter because McDonnell used his power while in office to influence other officials on Williams' behalf.
I'm incredibly grateful to the Supreme Court of the United States for accepting the case.
And what the justices decide will also set the framework for other public corruption cases moving forward, a bigger national issue that will forever have the name McDonnell tied to it. The Supreme Court will allow McDonnell to remain free while they consider what they are going to do. A decision is expected sometime this summer. That means McDonnell, his friends, his family, and politicians from across the country will be looking closely over the next few months as to which way the court is leaning. Working for you in D.C., I'm Jake Burns for CBS 6 News.
Play video games and listen to songs.
11-year-old Wayne Norris likes his downtime. He deserves some too after helping out one of his classmates at Providence Middle School last week.
Yeah, he couldn't breathe at all.
Norris's friend started choking in the lunchroom last Friday, so the 6th grader sprung into action.
He started choking on his food, and I was like, dude, everybody in my class jokes around like that for no apparent reason. Then I was like, dude, you're serious, pick up that can. And he picked up his can, and I just said, screw it, and I did a Heimlich.
A successful one at that. School staff rushed over and took the other student to the nurse. They say he's fine. Norris says he learned the life-saving Heimlich technique from an odd place, television.
Yeah, can't talk smack about cartoons anymore, people.
I might could try to fake it, which I think he did, but it would totally be the same situation. I saw it on TV.
Norris's dad thought his son was joking at first when he told him the story, but now is one proud papa. Teachers at Providence Middle have called Norris a hero, but he isn't so sure about that.
I'm not big on being labeled a hero. I wasn't big on that. I just said, dude, don't call me a hero. I just try to help.
Norris says the one lesson he learned from all this is that you should always help out others in need. That might explain why when he grows up, Norris says he wants to follow in his brother's footsteps and join the Army. Working for you in Chesterfield, Jake Burns, CBS 6 News. You know, when it snows outside and the kids are enjoying the sledding, we always think the parents are kind of left out. They're sitting there watching, having fun themselves. But today we wanted to treat the parents a little bit, so we went to Alchemy Coffee, and with the help of Union Bank and Trust, we gave them a free cup of joe while they watch their kids have fun. Hey everybody! We're with Channel 6 News. We didn't think the kids should have all the fun, so we got a bunch of free coffee for the adults or the older kids if they're kind of chilly. So come on over and get some if you want it. You want a little milk?
Yes.
Tell me when. We just asked that you pay it forward.
Pay it forward. Alchemy.
We're passing out free coffee today if you want some. Any interest?
Oh yeah, that would work.
Awesome, sounds good. Teamwork.
Oh yeah.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Take it back to the station and everybody will be hopped up
I
on
know.
coffee.
It's going to be the best 11 p.m. newscast of all time.
This is the best.
Yeah.
You've ever been down there?
I have, yeah.
I was going to say, take a ride.
I wish.
And they introduced me to tubing for the first time at Wintergreen last year.
That's
so sweet. Thank you.
You guys have fun, all right?
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, have a good one. And so what we ask is that you guys do something nice for someone else, okay?
Okay.
Sound good? That's the only thing you got to do in return. And have fun sledding, okay?
Okay.
Sound good?
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. President Obama was only on the ground here in Central Virginia for about 4 hours, but during that time, he made history. Officials here at Fort Lee say it is the first time in their 99-year history that a sitting U.S. president was here on post, and he addressed the soldiers here just a few moments ago. The president was here to host a town hall discussion with military families, active duty soldiers, and veterans. We're told the commander-in-chief was asked about a wide range of topics, including the effects of PTSD on soldiers and the role of the U.S. abroad, among other things, of course. This was a historic day here at Fort Lee, but we also spoke with one special soldier who had a big role in it, Staff Sergeant Tara Brown. She sang the national anthem prior to the town hall, and we asked her about that experience and what she thought about the president's performance.
Experience of a lifetime. I said to myself earlier that if I never sang again, this is the way to go out. The president, I really appreciated all of his answers. They were thoughtful, considerate, and right on point in my opinion.
Again, a historic day here at Fort Lee. This could be President Obama's final visit to our area before he leaves office. Working for you here at Fort Lee, Jake Burns, CBS 6 News. Yeah, Candace, that drug is naloxone, and emergency responders tell us it can be a lifesaver because it bridges the gap and revives someone until emergency personnel can arrive. Today, we spoke with the man who's administered it before.
I could feel his pulse come back like slowly, then it jumped like really fast.
That was the third time Bob Dutriquet administered the drug naloxone.
You know, I've seen firsthand what a miracle this stuff is. Like, you know, I've seen people wake up that I didn't think were gonna wake up.
Dutriquet works at the McShin Foundation. He took a class to learn how to administer naloxone, a drug that blocks the effects of opioids in the body during an overdose.
Half an hour to save somebody's life, you know, I think it's very important.
In Virginia, naloxone and Narcan are available over the counter without a prescription. As the opioid crisis continues, Henrico County is offering classes to teach regular people how to administer the nasal spray version of the drug. A medical emergency call at Fire Station 10. We were there to meet Battalion Chief Jackson Baynard. He says similar to CPR training, it's important to react to overdoses quickly and call 911.
We want to give these tools in their toolbox, but we also want to make sure that they're activating 911 to get the professionals there in the quickest amount of time possible.
So this stuff's pretty powerful.
Each time WTVR administered naloxone, the person survived.
You know, I see this other guy who completed drug court. That's like a big feat.
In his office, WTVR surveys a wall of people who have gone through their program. Special memories because he went through it too and is 1 year sober.
I'm glad this is the path I'm taking, and it's not easy, but it is, you can find it. You have to ask for help.
Now, if you're interested in taking this class, take a live look. You can see what's going on right now here in Eastern Henrico. This class is all full for tonight and is going on right now, so you can't take part in it. But there'll be more opportunities because this is a state program. We have information on how you can sign up on our website, WTVR.com. Working for you in Henrico, Jake Burns, CBS 6 News.
Oh, say, can you see?
Fans flurry and heat bears down, but breaking these smiles impossible this Independence Day.
It is my honor and pleasure to be the first to address you as my dear fellow citizens of the United States.
This is the first naturalization ceremony held at the Virginia Historical Society. 89 new American citizens.
Lester Mark Rivera Servin Penaloza.
Zambrotia Taranum Zamir.
From 50 different countries.
Australia,
People's Republic of
Jamaica,
China, Russia,
Egypt.
Take the oath of allegiance to the United States.
I'm so excited, happy.
Originally from Nigeria, Anakule Analaja has lived in the States for 30 years. His new status as U.S. citizen brings a right he cherishes, the right to vote.
I've been looking forward to see this day, and I thank God that I'm able to witness today with all my family, friends, and relatives around me here.
It's a beautiful day, and thank you, America.
CarMax rep Sumita Kantal left India 18 years ago and now calls Richmond home. She becomes a U.S. citizen at a time of political division. It's something she recognizes, but won't allow to dampen the beginning of her own American history.
They should just focus on its name. It's United States of America. We should stand united.
Yes, America will need your voice to join in its unwavering cry for justice. From this day forward, my dear fellow citizens, this is your child.
God bless America, my home sweet home.
America's most famous coyote spent his time out west.
They're definitely here.
But Brian Tomlinson says he may have spotted one near his Westover Hills home this summer.
But I saw one come around the corner from the ravine and then come around that bush and go back down the ravine. When he saw my car, went back down, but he was very fast.
There have been dozens of coyote sightings in neighborhoods near the James River of late.
And it's important for people that live in urban areas really to know that we're going to have coyotes.
Animal biologist Aaron Proctor says we can thank our ancestors for that. Coyotes are not native to Virginia, but showed up more than a half a century ago because of human intervention.
We did a great job of extirpating and removing wolves and mountain lions from Virginia. And what that did is it created a vacuum for a keystone predator, and coyotes fill that vacuum very well.
Proctor says coyotes are established throughout the state, so he advises Virginians to do their best to keep them away from their homes, keep trash and other attractants indoors, and small pets on leashes or under a watchful eye.
One doesn't usually think of coyotes being on the East Coast, and certainly in Virginia.
Brian Tomlinson says there's no reason to be alarmed by his wild neighbors, just proactive.
Got to be aware that the coyotes are around, and they're very clever and very elusive, but that doesn't mean they're not here.
Experts say coyotes are not necessarily a threat to humans. We just need to be cautious and know that they're in our neighborhoods. Some people down here in Forest Hill are actually embracing their wild neighbors. In fact, a restaurant called Laura Lee's used to have a cocktail on their menu called the Urban Coyote. Working for you in Richmond, Jake Burns, CBS 6 News. Since the parent companies of Martin's and Food Lion say they'll likely sell 20 area Martin's stores as a part of their pending merger, some loyal customers are worried about what their grocery future holds.
Well, my husband did go in the other night and he noticed that there are some items that look like they're not being restocked right now. So it would be nice to have more information.
It should be a good thing.
Dr. Adam Marquardt, business professor at the University of Richmond, closely studies the Richmond market. He says the U-Crops to Martin's sale in 2010 set up the grocery shuffle consumers are seeing now.
It opened up business that wasn't there before.
Wegmans will soon open its first store in the Richmond market. Publix has signed on to bring their first Central Virginia location off Knuckles Road. Even though the number of grocers is expanding, federal regulators don't allow one company to take a larger share of the market by merging.
The combined Food Lion and Martin's merger takes the combined company up to the break point.
That's where the potential sale of the 20 Martin stores comes into play. In order to promote competition, Marquardt says he expects a well-known chain to purchase them and move in. His educated guess as to who that will be?
For a company like Publix, this is an ideal market for them to enter.
Obviously, none of this is finalized yet because the review process of the potential merger and possible sale are ongoing. No matter what, though, experts say this kind of grocery competition is good for you, the shopper, because it means more options and potentially lower prices. Working for you, I'm Jake Burns for CBS 6 News.
It was disappointing, certainly.
Kathleen Carmody spent 6 weeks in 2014 trying her best to not talk about her day with her family. Carmody was on the jury that convicted former Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell and his wife, a decision overturned by the Supreme Court Monday.
Based on what I saw and what I was instructed, he was absolutely guilty, as was Maureen. It was more the money for me, the sweetheart deals. That was really what got me.
Carmody says the jurors were very clear on the instructions they were given at trial, but the Supreme Court vacated the convictions because they say the trial judge did not properly instruct them on the law. That sets into motion the potential for a new trial. According to multiple reports, the first 6-week affair cost taxpayers more than $1 million when legal fees and personnel costs are factored in. CBS 6 legal analyst Todd Stone says the lower courts and prosecutors are mulling many factors right now.
Inconvenience to witnesses, the expense and time required, and what is in the public interest.
It was just shameful. Shameful.
Carmody says the defense strategy to throw Maureen McDonnell under the bus didn't sit well with her, an aspect of the first trial she would not want repeated. Her words to the court about a possible retrial?
They have to be darn sure if they do it again.
I can't believe that.
George Brown lives in Fairfield Court and has been a smoker for 14 years.
You've been smoking as long as I have, then you would need that cigarette.
Soon Brown and his neighbors may have to step outside to light up. The Department of Housing and Urban Development is considering a proposal that would ban smoking inside all public housing buildings.
I wouldn't even come outside to smoke a cigarette, for real, to tell you the truth. I'd probably be at the window.
Brown brings up a big question for housing authorities. How do you enforce a policy where violators are inside their own homes?
Encouraging people and residents to buy into the process would be the best way to attack that.
Carol Jones-Gilbert is the Chief Operating Officer for the RRHA. She says they're in the final stages of drafting their own smoke-free policies within certain communities.
I think a lot of times people think of the dangers to the actual smoker, but there's also the dangers for those who don't smoke.
Jones-Gilbert points out accidental house fires that displace multiple families and, of course, secondhand smoke.
If I see somebody coming in here with a cigarette, I will stop them.
Brenda Cheatham posts this sign, warning her neighbors of her own policy. With 2 parents on oxygen tanks, Cheatham, a smoker herself, says she supports HUD's proposal and not just for the health benefits.
If somebody light a cigarette and it get into the oxygen and it blow up, the whole unit gonna blow up.
This is just a proposed policy change as of right now, and the public comment period on it runs through January the 18th. If HUD does decide to move forward with it, though, more than 4,000 apartment units here in Richmond would be affected. Officials tell me they're preparing for that scenario. Working for you in Richmond, Jake Burns, CBS 6 News.
I want to be effective on your behalf.
Virginia Senator Tim Kaine is a month removed from an election his side lost. We caught up with the senator after he spent an hour and a half chatting with a group of paralyzed veterans over coffee and pastries.
This is normally what I do. It's what I've done since I was a city councilman and mayor. Sit down with groups of people and say, okay, tell me how I can better represent you.
Kaine told the group he was obviously disappointed by the election results, but returned to Washington to focus on his work in the Senate. That comes as headlines swirl of Russian cyber meddling in the U.S. election. Kaine says he expects to be part of congressional investigations into Russian involvement and says he's troubled by how President-elect Trump has responded.
If he were to say, I don't think it will amount to anything, that's one thing, but he's basically saying don't even do the investigation. As a president, he should want the electoral system to be secure and have an integrity to it and not be hacked.
Beyond the latest scandal to hit Washington, Kaine says he'll focus his efforts on veterans care and 21st century job training in Virginia. Still, with looming battles over policies like the future of Obamacare, Kaine made his stance clear to us.
Don't have a repeal vote unless we talk about what the replacement or the reform is. So there are some things where my job for Virginians is going to be playing defense.
Excited fan.
Yeah, we sure did, Julie. You mentioned that. This is really the closest that many of these fans will ever get all season long and maybe ever in general to their favorite Redskins players. We took our camera right up to the wire between where the fans could get to the field, and it's maybe 20 yards away from where the players are doing drills. There were a lot of excited families and little kiddos. Speaking of some of the youngest fans, they all had their own little strategy about where they could get autographs and where was the best spot to do so. There's a little bit of a different kind of energy amongst the crowd during practice today. A lot of new faces here with the Redskins, both on the coaching staff and also with the players and the roster itself, and that's important to remember. So a little bit of an anxious and curious energy from the fans, but if you want to talk about energy, we found one man in particular. His name is Rev T. Watch how pumped up he is.
I tell it to the young, I tell it to the old, you got to let the burgundy gold fill up your soul. Because in the final minutes, in the final hours, I'm going to stand. You going to stand. We all going to be standing saying, hell to the Redskins. Hell to the Redskins. Believe at the real Rev T, baby. Box whip.
So he's a little bit excited about all this. He might have had the most energy of anybody, that's for sure. We're having a lot of fun. As we mentioned, this is the 5th year of training camp right here in the River City, but there are some new things this year. Tune in for about 30 minutes from now for more on that. Candace, Julie?
Thanks, Jake. That guy might make the cheerleading team.
That's
he
right.
was pretty intense. Okay, well, CBS 6 Sports Director Lane Casadante joins.
He's a nosy neighbor.
While Pedro may be nosy, Carolyn Burton says her neighbors were heroic Thursday morning.
I don't know how they got in to save them.
She looked across the way on Charles City Road.
Front of that house on fire and flames up to as high as they could go.
That's the scene firefighters encountered when they arrived. But crews also found 5 people down in the front yard. An elderly couple lives here, and firefighters say their son and 2 neighbors rushed into the burning home to get the couple out.
Encouraging somebody to go in is certainly not anything we would do, but in this case, it looks like it really saved their lives.
All 5 people were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. One Henrico firefighter was transported because of the extreme heat. The temperature wasn't the only challenge crews faced in this rural stretch of Henrico. The closest hydrant was more than a mile away, so water had to be shuttled to the scene.
We need something down here.
Burton would like to see a hydrant closer to her home, but says crews did a good job in these conditions.
Yeah, wonderful people.
Her neighbors have lived in this home for decades. The damage is immense, but she's glad that someone jumped in to pull them out.
Be kind one to another. That's what all of us should do.
Dizzy!
We told you that 9-year-old Samuel Hill Jr. had a rough Sunday. His family was enjoying a sunny day at Browns Island when a group of high school-age kids tricked Sammy and stole his brand new Mongoose bike he got only 3 days before.
I'm also sad.
Naturally, I want the bike back, but I would much rather appreciate to restore my son's faith in humanity.
This is Samuel's stolen bike, and this is the one we decided to get him. The moment of delivery.
My uncle.
What's this? What do you think, dude?
They found your bike.
Look at this guy.
You found my bike?
We didn't find you one. What we did is we saw what kind it was, and we thought it was so cool you needed another one.
Thanks.
You're welcome. What do you think, bro?
I think it's awesome.
No, because you liked the green, didn't you? After a little bit of adjusting. All right, let's lunge her down. There we go.
I think that's how I had it.
Let's see about it.
Sweet.
It didn't take Samuel long to forget about Sunday and start doing what he should be doing.
Oh! And I'm really good at riding this bike.
You want a high five?
I can't even beat it on bike.
Bam.
Woo! Out of here.
Country singer Cole Swindell has millions of fans.
I don't even know what the answer is.
But Donna Ballard may be the biggest one in the world right now.
It was humbling, kind, loving, compassionate. It was a blessing.
3 months ago, Donna's son Dylan, a senior at Lee Davis High School, was killed in a drunk driving crash. Despite living in Nashville, Ballard says Swindell heard about what happened and asked to meet her before taking the stage at Innsbruck After Hours Wednesday night.
It kind of impacted him, felt like he had a connection with us. His father had recently passed away, and he just felt a connection.
A connection so powerful, Swindell wore a Ballard Strong wristband throughout the show.
The wristband I noticed right off.
And donned a t-shirt during the encore, just like the one Donna wears.
Sometimes it's difficult to just get up each day and to put your shoes on and to head out that door, but it's a step that we choose to make.
Court documents show that everyone in the vehicle that veered off Cold Harbor Road had been drinking that April night, but so far, no charges have been filed in the wreck that took 2 lives. The Hanover Sheriff's Office says they're waiting for blood tests to come back from the state crime lab. Then, investigators will consult with the Commonwealth attorney. Ballard says her family is now focused on trying to heal and using a tragic situation for the better.
I don't want any family to go through what we're going through. And my prayer is that some child will pick up that phone call, pick up their phone and call and make that call for someone to come and get them.
Jake Burns, CBS 6 News.
DJ Drake, let's go, dog.
It's an image some think more people need to see. A Richmond police officer grooving next to a young black boy.
There you go, I got it.
Welcome to RVA Shootout. It feels like a big family barbecue with a bunch of cameras.
Because I don't think we see it. We don't see enough of that interaction.
Connie McGowan organized RVA Shootout in only 3 days. After a week of racial tensions, anger at police, and tragedy across our country,
We need to come together. And we need this. We need it to relax.
McGowan wanted positive interactions between the community and police documented. Dozens of photographers capture moments of unity in a world that seems divided.
I want a picture just do okay.
Wait a minute! Take pictures with the police officers, let them know that they are loved, they are here protecting us all the time. And people say, well, they all bad. No, they ain't all bad. Most of them are good.
If you go to McDonald's and somebody puts something nasty on your hamburger, you can say, oh my goodness, these McDonald's workers, they're awful, all of them. Nope, that's not how it is.
Sunday was also for having tough conversations. Richmond officer Elamine showed the crowd the best way to interact with police during a traffic stop.
We say comply and then complain.
And let everyone behind the blue line, saying he's sad and at times angry when police elsewhere shoot and kill black men.
I feel bad that a human life was lost needlessly, okay? And it was the way it happened. Anytime somebody loses their life is horrible, and when police officers die, it's horrible.
Horrible times that many here feel can change through song.
For those of us here will know that on this day, we began to pray and we came together.
Prayer and spreading a message of community togetherness.
It's just the simple fact that we need to come together and resolve this together.